Good morning and welcome to this episode of the Ad Drop Podcast. I'm your host, Terrance Biggs. And what I do, I come across various people of various backgrounds and various positions and jobs. And today is one of my favorites. She is the commissioner of the Landmark Conference, Katie Boldvich. Katie, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Terrance. How about yourself?
Not bad. Now, before we jump into the conference aspect, let me ask you a question. Were you as happy as I was being a Celtic fan to watch the Pacers lose?
Yes, sir, I sure was. I also have some background there because the graduate was from my undergrad, Emerson College. Their GM, Sam Presti. There's a big Emerson connection there. So if we're not rooting for the Celtics in this house, we're rooting for the Thunder. So that was great. Good to see. Like some of the Celtics moves this offseason. We'll see what happens. They traded my favorite player, but I get it, Drew Holiday. But looking forward to next year. I think they'll still make some noise despite no Tatum to start out.
As a disgruntled Knicks fan, it was just hard to watch the Pacers because I've never met a team who has won so little and done so much, talk so much.
Unfortunately, I have seen a lot of that, but the Pacers definitely rival some of the best. I agree.
Now, when you look at, you mentioned the Drew Holiday moving. When you look at Porzingis, do you think that Porzingis also moving to Atlanta would be a huge loss, or because he's been hurt, it's like a negligible effect?
It depends on like heart versus actually on the court. Like I feel like Boston loved Kristaps and he showed up big in those games and obviously their win 2 years ago. I don't think that happens without him. So he's been big in certain moments. We have like memorable memes forever, like the blood on the forehead and the big bandage. And I just think the city really embraced him. So it's harder to lose him in that aspect. But you kind of nailed it. I feel like this year was kind of a struggle. They did a lot this season without him, so it'll be interesting to see how some of the new guys kind of shade in and, pick up that slack and maybe play more regularly.
What one thing I was surprised to see after Tatum went down is Jaylen Brown disappeared.
Yeah, it's tough. I think they really need each other. And then you found out at the end of the year, like Jalen was de dealing with his knee injury as well all year. So they scoped that. That's supposed to be clean and he's ready to roll. But that's going to be a huge expectation. Like, is he an everyday 30 point per game guy? Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. But he's got big shoes to fill. It'll be interesting to see, does Derek White continue his trajectory? Will they put Peyton Pritchard as a starter now? Will they run small going in? They don't really have a big guy yet that's going to like protect the rim. So I don't know what's going on, Brad. I love the Dame Lillard rumors, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But like their draft, like that Gonzalez kid has have watched a couple summer league games. He's great. So yeah, I'm excited. It's Sox season right now. They're actually playing well heading into the break, but I'll be happy when hoops are back for sure.
What was your thought about the house settlement? Like, what was your overarching thought about the process and how they arrived at the settlement?
Judge Wilkins, why did it take so long? We were thinking we were getting approval back in April. Um, you know, Do I think the change was necessary for the major D1 schools? Yes. Do I think it helps elongate support for 95% of the NCAA also because they're able to do what they need to do in that Power Four space? Yes. But I think optically, you know, people look at this and think that that's all of the NCAA and that's all of college sports. And it's really like such a small percentage when you think of the vast numbers competing at D3, D2, non-football D1, even FCS D1. Like we're talking completely different landscapes, completely different games, really, of who's playing what. And I think this is setting up for another eventual breaking point because there's no way you can keep up with the Joneses here. I mean, I don't know how schools can invest that much money into individuals, but I guess we'll see. And I think the employment piece is going to become really interesting as well, and how that all works out now that they're getting paid. I'm just hopeful the student athletes of employees doesn't generally get accepted, like kind of with one broad brush, because that would be incredibly negatively impactful for small college athletics. So yeah, interested, I guess, to see how this plays out. I don't know if schools are even going to be able to pay students this year, despite the approval, because some of the other appeals process. Feel like there's a new lawsuit every day. It's tough to keep straight, but here we are, we're doing our thing.
Looked at it and I watched Judge Wilkin and taking so long. One of the things that I could kind of scratch my head is the fact that she agreed to the 2.8 billion, but 750 million of that will go to the lawyers' fees of the plaintiffs.
And
That's a
that's the
lot.
thing that's the most disappointing in all of this, and really any legal proceedings generally. The lawyers are the ones that end up making out when anything like goes to trial or is even settled before, because both sides gave up a lot and are probably frustrated with where they are. No one really wins, and then we're making attorneys more wealthy, lining their pockets. I want to go back to the days where the government did not involve themselves in college sports because they were worried about bigger items and bigger ticket entities. But here we are. I will forever miss those days. And it still just boggles my mind that there's like a big group of people that think they know more from their background in space than people living it and doing it every day. And that's the worst part of it.
Yesterday, I talked to Sarah Odie of the UAA, and one of the things I noticed about D3 commissioners, there's no personal animus or competition where you all root for each other. You all want to see the best for the division as a whole. Whereas other divisions, I've seen it, I've talked to them. There's that rivalry. We spoke about a commissioner before we started and how that commissioner is made enemies of everyone from other commissioners to waiters to parking valets. But at the D3 level, there's no animosity. Is that more of a matter of a common goal or just having more adults in the room?
Ooh, great question. I think probably both, I'll take the easy answer out, but I do think generally our room, so there's 42 D3 conferences and everyone's generally friends, right? Like we have a listserv, we're bouncing ideas off each other. We see each other in person 2 or 3 times a year. So we're big, like, how short-staffed our offices are. We're big, let's not reinvent the wheel. I'm dealing with this issue. I have a few peers that I can reach out to and get some feedback on. Maybe they've dealt with it. How can we help each other kind of thing? But I will say we are still competitive. God love them. Like when we're at national championships and maybe the other commissioners there and it's like, hey, yeah, good luck before the game. Wish you the best, but do not stand near me during this game. I'm going to be in my own space pacing because I'm not a great sport. I'm going to be honest. And I need to be in my own space rooting for my team. But after the game, yep, we can catch up again, buy a drink, a celebratory drink, whatever. But I need my time too. So I think that's kind of how everyone generally feels. Many of us were former athletes. You never lose that competitive edge. But at the end of the day, you nailed it. Like any success in D3 is a success for all of us. It's really nice to see other people, relish in victory. Sometimes I can deal with it. And you really want, the best for all of the student athletes. Like there's a nice connection there with yourself as well. So yeah, big YD3 community for sure.
One of the things I noticed is that there was a summer research symposium at E-Town, I want to say the 10th. How do you think that could be beneficial to other conferences that may want to use it?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. That's a big academic cornerstone of our conference. So the symposium way predates me. That was founded and put forward by our presidents and faculty athletic reps when the landmark was founded. The landmark was founded based on academic principle. So schools that were in other conferences, they left and joined to want to be in a more academic focused conference. So that's, I think one of the few things aside from our logo that we've really kept since the beginning of the landmark. So we've been consistent with having it. Our faculty athletic reps do a really good job in that space. It's also open to all students, not just student athletes. So it's a way that the Landmark Conference can kind of brand and showcase itself beyond just athletics, which I think is really important and part of the root of what we do. Obviously, we have a little bias towards our student athletes because we think it's amazing that they're able to do these research projects and sometimes patent projects, while also balancing everything they're doing on the field and courts, pool. But we like to celebrate all of our students at our member schools because we think we're pretty special.
Prep for the games at the Palestra? Like how soon after the games end do you start prepping for the next season?
Oh, I'm prepping months before the game starts for the next season. So, trying to stay in the good graces of Penn. We want to be one of their easiest and nicest and cleanest clients, right? So, try to maintain the relationships are huge. So we're invited back. We don't get our dates until the summer. So typically what they do is they host Penn Relays, which is a huge track event. Like they're burnt through that, so they need to take a beat, kind of look at their schedules for the upcoming year, and then we essentially get one, maybe two dates that say, hey, here's when we could make it work, and we have been fortunate to kind of get right of refusal on that. So literally this week I just got our date for next year. I'm not going to announce it, but we're going. So we're really excited. And yeah, like we started looking at when we were making our new block schedules a year and a half ago. I had to keep the Palestra in mind for that. And, trying to think of what matchups would be, looking at historical when we might get the date. But yeah, it's a year plus process for sure. And sometimes the work is done before knowing for sure if we're even going to get to go back. So that can kind of be stressful, but this will be year 4. I'm so excited. I'm starting to see it now. Coaches are using it as a recruiting tool and saying, hey, this is something really cool we get to do in our conference. Our schools are using it for alumni and donor relations outside the Philly area. Like we don't have a Philly school, so this is a great opportunity to network there with some, younger or more established alumni that are based in Philadelphia that might not go all the way out to Huntington for a game for Juniata, but they get to see them in Philly, so it's kind of neat. So it's been nice to see that grow and watch all of our schools maximize that opportunity.
Has the partnership with Officially Human been for the impact on the conference and kind of discuss what Officially Human is?
Yeah, so they're a nonprofit entity that, in short, wants to put some marketing materials together to help student athletes, coaches, and fans recognize that officials are human. They're like you, they're your brothers and sisters and cousins, or, dental tech or person that works at the grocery store that you see every day. Like they have these whole complete lives, right, outside of officiating, and this is truly an avocation for them. Like they're giving time and trying to give back to a sport they love. Yes, they're getting paid and we expect knowledge and performance and great results from them, but at the same time, like I don't have someone sitting over my shoulder being like, you filled out that Excel wrong, like you stink, like you didn't respond to that email fast enough, or you didn't look at the right legislation. Everything they do is so visible. So I think the real purpose here is just to kind of give it a beat. Yes, it's normal to be mad. We're playing games. We're competitive people. We want the right outcome. We also think we're right, and it's easier to like look at, from our lens than an opponent's lens. But this is just trying to bring more awareness of how we can support officials. We've talked about it before. We're in an officiating crisis in the country, especially in small college athletics. So if there's some small things we can do and materials we can share with our schools and SAC and students, just to maybe make them think twice about some of their comments, that's something we really want to do and support. And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from our assigners as well, which makes it really exciting. So we're excited to roll that out for this academic year.
Of official, kind of tangentially related, the MLB is going to go to advanced balls and strikes where they're going to have a robot pretty much calling balls and strikes. As a baseball fan, how do you feel about this? And do you think that this will either harm or help the game?
Oof. I'm old school. I think officials and umpires are part of the game, right? Like, I just think the human element is a big part of it. I don't like replay. It's burned me. It's benefited me for teams. Replay, maybe we're getting those giant Super Bowl losses back somehow with bad calls at the end of the game. I don't know, but is Dave Roberts safe or out at second, right? I don't know. Like, so you look at those, I just think the human element is a huge part of it. Replay has been good sometimes when used right and efficiently. But man, like not having an umpire behind the plate for balls and strikes is a killer. I know there's some advanced kind of TrackMan system some schools are using, and even in MLB and even the minors, the umpires are getting graded on their strike zones, which is wild. So to have to take it like a step beyond that just kind of seems crazy to me. I think we'll all regret having computers and robots take over the world in a few years here, but yeah, I'm old school. I want the official and the questionable call. Maybe it's a tight strike zone today, so.
Takes away from like you said, the human element where part of going to a baseball game, even part of hearing a baseball game is hearing the strike call, hearing a play ball out, safe, things like that. It's part of the visual aesthetic, and it's just part of what you grew up in as a fan. You're used to having a basketball referee, a bunch of hockey officials, or football, baseball, and it's becoming too, I don't know, it's too digitized for me, and I think it would take away from the game.
I agree. Well said.
Now, this fall, the landmark and conferences like the Atlantic 10 will participate in the We Coach seminar. Explain what that is and what do you think that will impact your conference?
Yeah, We Coach is an awesome organization. For people not familiar with it, they really support female coaches, aspiring female coaches, generally women's sport coaches. So if you're a man coaching a women's sport, just trying to give more focus to the coaches and administrators as well in the industry, like looking to grow with different professional development opportunities. They're really special because when you kind of sign on as a conference, you don't have to pick and choose how many from each school get the benefit. We Coach says, here's a flat fee if you're our partner, and 1,000 coaches sign up, good for you. If 100 coaches sign up, good for you. So to me, that really speaks to their support and understanding of small college athletics. And for our schools, it's great because it's not like, oh, well, we're just going to put our head coaches on it. They're putting assistants, GAs, like everyone has access to these modules and professional development or Zoom sessions and seminars, which is really important for growth and development and networking for our younger coaches. So the regional workshops kind of take all of that and they try to move them around the country with different partners. So it's our turn in Landmark Footprint. They're down in the DC area. They're going to have this event at George Mason. So we came on as conference partners with the United East, A10, and Patriot League right now. So we're going to blast this opportunity to all of our coaches. Hope they want to get out. Hopefully, using some NCAA grant funding to fund their registration. So they just kind of have to worry about travel and not worry about the cost to attend the workshop and hopefully take some things away. But they do some really neat keynote speakers and sessions that I think are really pertinent to the small college athletic space. So we love We Coach. Big shout out to them. They're doing great things.
Now, one thing that when you look at it, you have been a commissioner for a while with school. Well, I guess the school year is about a month from starting. Do you get nervous before each school year, or more the excitement of it's another full calendar year of school sports?
I get so amped. I always joke like this is kind of the fun time because you're ordering the new signage or ordering the new stuff and seeing what the championship t-shirts are going to look like. So I always tell my friends the day I don't get excited to open that box and like see the new t-shirt, like I know I got to call it quits. It's over. But yeah, like the excitement's building. We had a really successful fall. So we're looking like, okay, is that going to replicate? What teams are we watching for? Who's rebuilding? who might give someone like, a run for their money in the playoffs. So yeah, it's not the same as a campus, obviously, because you go from like kind of quiet to welcoming all the students back in a blur. But I feel it too. I'm looking at all 10 schools and looking at them getting excited for their different camps and report dates, and I can't wait. We got some things brewing this year. I think it's going to be a really great year for the conference.
Now, you mentioned it's baseball season and with your Red Sox. What's the feeling around Craig Breslow and the feeling of this unhappiness as far as his job? Or do you think that because they have played so well recently that the heat is a little bit off of him?
I think the heat's a little bit off of them because the streak heading into the All-Star break. But man, he got crushed for the Devers situation, and I think has been crushed for a lot. I'm personally kind of indifferent. I think the ownership really needs to change first, not necessarily Craig. I've been wishing they would sell the team for a few years now, just because I think that ownership group's focus isn't primarily on the Sox like it used to be back in their heyday. They've got their fingers in a lot of different buckets right now in regards to other teams and things they own. I'm hoping they're buyers at the deadline. I guess we'll see, but they have some great pieces. I think maybe Craig's looking a little smarter because maybe Devers could have been the problem. Who knows? We'll see what the next few months are, but I'm definitely excited. The young kids can play. I can't remember the last time I was really into baseball at the break, but I'm looking forward to the next few months, that's for sure.
You're not doing like conference stuff, and it's just as a fan, just how do you get away from the game? Just, you know what? I'm not. How do you get away from the job, I should say? You're not commissioner at this moment. You're just gonna go and just relax. How do you relax?
I don't like I'm looking all the time. Like when I go to games, I'm trying to be like, how can we recreate that? How can we do landmark version of that? It never turns off. Maybe at the beach for a few hours when I'm reading a book or something like that. But when I'm at sporting events, it's constantly like, okay, what could we do that's like this? Or I want something that kind of looks like that, and I know I can't afford the Red Sox version, but like, how can I make that work? Like super small. The Olympics 2 summers ago. Remember for track, they had the big bell, and when you finished or you won, you got to ring the bell. I've been on search of a bell for landmark track and field for the past year. I finally found it at like an antique sale. So now my summer project is okay, how do we transport this and like now bring it to life? So I want to like paint a post, landmark colors to be able to put it up, have the kids sign it when they win, like to really bring it alive and have that be a part of our track and field culture. So the mind never rests. I care way too much about it, but I love our schools. I love our conference. I think it helps us, get better when you're, comparing yourselves to others and trying to reach a little.
Would you fix the Bruins? They have been not the typical dominant team over the last few years. How'd you fix them? Like, if you had a chance to walk in the front office and say, you know what, we need to do this, 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 and this, and we'll be back in the hunt.
Oh man, that's a tough question. Marshawn was my boy. I loved him. I was fortunate back when I was working for the Celtics. Our partner were the Bruins. So when the Celtics were out early or not on the playoff push, and when the Bruins still were, that was our alternate coverage. So I got to be a big part of the behind the scenes for the 2011 Bruins Cup run. Marshawn was a baby, man. I loved him then. So losing him now has just been a gut punch, but thrilled that he won another cup at Florida. God, they need to find and develop young talent. They've done a good job with it. Like I think Swayman's their goalie of the future. Pasta's still there. He's one of the best players, period, in the NHL. I like their draft pick. Kids going to BC. Charlie McAvoy is one of the best two-way, defensemen in the country. So they have a lot of pieces. I think it's really rounding it out. And is that ownership leadership? Is that coaching? I think times will tell. I wasn't thrilled with the coaching hire, but other people seem to be excited about him. So I'm going to give him a fair shake and we'll see as a history with the organization. Um, but yeah, I think they've let some of their young talent go a little too soon, and that's been disappointing to watch as a fan for sure. And that's going back to Tyler Sagan like a decade ago. But we'll see. Maybe a couple enforcers come into, kind of need that like Boston bully hockey edge back that I think they've lost the last few years.
Do you think the league in general is, I think that there are too many teams. The expansion has gotten way, way, way too much because as you have, it seems like every other year there's a new team.
Yeah, it's definitely been growing and crazy. I agree. I mean, I still think the talent's out there. I don't know if it's necessarily there are too many teams, but my hot take for all of pro sports except maybe football, there are just too many games. Like I don't know how it's really sustainable. And I think ultimately there could be a better product, both visually for the fans, and for the players themselves, just to like rest body, stay healthy, like peak performance more often if they played some fewer games, but the owners don't want to give up those butts and seats. So it is what it is. If anything, we'll probably continue to see more games. So, hopefully the players can do what they need to do to rest and rehab themselves and not burn out too early.
Commissioner of the Landmark Conference, Katie Boldvich. Katie, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Ad Drop Podcast.